Hello, welcome back to my channel, Paint with Terry. Today we're going to be doing a nice mountain painting overlooking some water and hopefully get a little rainbow there in the background. And the first color that we're going to want to use, we're going to start with our sky. We're just going to get a smaller brush just so we can get in and around areas. We get some of that light blue. And we just want to kind of get in and close to where we're going to be putting the rainbow. We don't really want too much dark blue in there. Well, not dark blue, but it'll be darker than the white that it is, right? So kind of stay away from that area. We're just going to bring it down to our horizon line where we're going to be throwing in some trees. Bring it over to where our mountain's going to be. It's okay if we pull it into the mountain area a little bit, because the color for the mountain will be darker and it'll take that blue out. Pull some of this paint down. Bring it up just to where we want that rainbow to come across. I'll get a bit more of that sky blue color on. Get this top area filled in. We're going to do the same thing. Just bring it just above where you want the rainbow. And then same thing, just start feathering it out. You just want to be mindful of where your mountain area is going to be. Just dabbing our brush in and getting a bit more paint on there. Really don't need much. Just going to carry that down just before the mountain area. Now we're just going to lightly pull in to that mountain. Like I say, it's okay if you go into it a little bit. The darker color will fix that. Just lightly fan on that paint. It'll soften it. Helps take out a lot of the brush marks. Now we can kind of see where our mountain and rainbow are going to be. Just going to grab this softening brush, just like a softer bristled brush. We're just kind of doing little circular motions, trying to get rid of as many of that brush marks and to get the sky pretty much to where we want it. Just doing little circular motions on that edge, kind of pulling the paint down as I go, just into where the actual rainbow is going to be, because we kept it a little bit above the line that we have. I just want to feather it in there. We're just kind of brushing in a little bit into that white. Like I said, we don't want too much blue in there, so just a tiny bit works. Now we got our sky. We're just going to get a smaller brush. I'm going to use a filbert brush. Will work fine for this. We've got some darker color made up. It's almost like a blackish color, but it's just a really dark brown. We made that up by mixing some brown with a little bit of green, some black. I'm just going to start up here in the top. I'm just going to kind of do these little jagged things coming down. Do the same for the other side. Just want to add little jagged movements so it's not completely flat. Now we can get a bigger brush. We're just going to use the same brush that we were using for the blue. We're just taking the paint that's on here and spreading it out. Bringing it down just to the top of the tree line that we're going to put in. And just grab our softer bristled brush. Now we got a majority of our mountain shadow in there. I'm just going to use a little bit of a darker color. We'll get some of our black. I can just mix it with our dark brown. We're just going to fix up our top of our ridge. Do the other side. Now for this rainbow effect that we're going to do, we're just going to use a vermilion or like a scarlet red. Just want to make sure you have a clean fan brush. Once you got a clean fan brush, we're just going to get the tip of the bristles into some of that vermilion red. We don't need much of it. We can start somewhere in around here. It's going to be our top color. I'm going to kind of dabble on that very top line and make it a little bit more faint as it goes. That's literally all you need of that color. You don't want to add too much because you're not trying to make the colors too pronounced. You kind of want that faded effect. The next color we're going to use is we're going to get some of our orange. We've made that a little bit lighter of an orange color by just adding a little bit of titanium white to it. Not very much. You can even do it by adding a bit of yellow. Same thing, you don't want to go too light. It's kind of like a soft orange color. And same thing, we'll start somewhere in around here. Just want to come in above or just below that red. Same thing. As it gets down here, it should be just a little bit more faint. We just want to clean the tips of the brush off there, just get a majority of that orange off. Next color we're going to use is a little bit of cadmium yellow. Do the same thing, just come in right here, just add in a bit of that yellow. Next color we're going to use is just a tiny little bit of emerald green. Just want to get a little bit on the tips of the brush. Come in, same thing. Right in here. Green's a little more pronounced, so you want to be careful. We're just going to use a little bit of blue. But the color that we're using is I think it's like kind of like a indigo blue. You just want to get something that's a little bit darker than what your sky is. And same thing, we're just going to come in. We usually start in the middle like this just so we can get like a nice even amount both ways. And the last color that we'll put in there is dioxazine purple. This is another really like a really strong color, so you just want to make sure you have a super tiny amount on the tip. Dab it off a few times. Then we can come in here. Now we just want to grab our blending brush, or like I say, a really soft bristled brush. When I say soft bristle, usually acrylic brushes work well, but you want to make sure it's like a long bristled one. We're just going to lightly fan into that mountain, and then just ever so lightly hitting the top edge of the red. We're just moving down. Not to blend it fully, but just to get a little bit of blend between the colors. This as well, like I say, softens the paint. So it's going to help get rid of the brush marks, but it also softens the colors. Now that we got our rainbow going in there, we just want to clean that small brush that we originally used for the blue. You just want to clean that. Make sure you got it clean and dry. And we're going to just get a little bit more of our blue color on there, so we can bring it up to the sky. I mean up to the rainbow. Just lightly dab in a bit of color here. Dab it in just below that purple color. The reason we're bringing that paint down, just kind of tapping as we go down, that's going to blend the darker blue that we just put on with the sky that we have. We don't want it quite so dark up there. Now we can just get our liner brush. Just going to kind of make these little squiggly lines coming in down here. Have another one that kind of branches off. The reason that we're putting in these little lines like that is they'll just give us little ideas of where we can put in our shadows and highlights. We're going to do our shadow color first. For that, we're just going to use some of that dark brown. We'll get our palette scraper. I just want to get a small little amount on the edge. Start up here on the ridge. Just use the tap, like just tap in along those little squiggly lines that you put in. It doesn't have to be perfect, as long as there's some color in there. And when you're tapping in along these lines, you don't want to have any big globs of paint like sort of what's happened here. You can just kind of scrape that off just lightly. And when you're doing it, you want to scrape it off this way, so like this. That's the way our shadows will be going. Now that we got those in there, we'll just take, and we'll pull that over. I'm just going to pull that down a bit. The same thing with all these, this darker stuff, you want to pull it all the same direction. Now that we got that color in, we're going to move to our next color. And that's kind of a burnt sienna. But same thing, we're just going to tap in along these little ridges. And we're going to do the same thing that we did with that first brown. So we're going to pull in the opposite direction. We're going to take a lighter brown. I'm just going to pop in a few little highlight areas along those ridges. I'm just adding in a few little highlights over here, like I say, along the ridges. We're just going to use our fan brush. For this next part, we don't want any color on it though, so you can just give it a wipe off. It will work. We're just going to get some of our titanium white on there, just on the tip though. Just adding in a little bit of that white color. There's some of these distant little snow caps or streams that would be running down. We just want to use our blending brush. we got that like that. Just gonna pop in a few more little random lights. And we got our mountain in there. Just lightly soften up this area. Now we can get a clean fan brush, some of our sap green. Yeah, same thing, you just really want to get the tips. And just where that blue line is, just going to kind of start tapping in some trees. I want them to be a little bit higher, some a little lower. I'm just going to get these tips a little more defined. Once you got it like that, we're just kind of moving the tapping downward and kind of filling it in as we go. We don't want to bring it down too far. For this lower area, we're just going to use more of a straight edge brush. I just want to kind of dab in. Now we got to the area that we want, so we know where our trees are going to end. You can just kind of continue on dabbing in some color. We're just going to take a little bit of our lighter green. And essentially just do the same thing, but not filling in the whole area. Now we got our distant tree line in. Just gonna get that more narrowed fan brush. You want to make sure it's clean and dry. For our distant water area, we're going to take some of our Prussian blue. And we just want a little bit on the tip. We're just going to come up here. We're just going to use a little bit of our cerulean blue. I'm just getting it dabbed up very close to the edge. I'm going to use more of our Prussian blue. Just bringing this up into the area where we want, is where our land's going to start. I'm just going to get this edge before we use a bigger brush. We're going to grab our 1-inch brush and get that cerulean blue on there. We'll start right here in the center where we want our water to be. Just lightly fanning across this distant part. We can lightly sweep this just into where our patch of land's going to be. I'm just going to grab my 2-inch brush. This is going to help soften it and help take out some of the brush marks. We can just use our fan brush for this part. We're just going to use some of that Peruvian blue. Pop a few little lines of color in here. Maybe particularly in this area. A little deeper there. You don't got to worry about how the lines look right now. We're going to be blending it. We just want some areas that are going to be a little darker. Just get the rest of that off the brush. Just going over the whole area just to give it a nice blend and paint. We're going to use our fan brush for this next part. We're just going to get some of our brown on there, sort of a light brown, that burnt sienna. Start dabbing in these areas because we're going to tap in some grass as well. We do want to have a little bit of area. The same thing over here. And you don't have to use a fan brush now when you're filling in the rest of the area, but because I've already got it, I'm just going to finish off this area with it. I find that they work good for getting in the little areas better than the big brush. Just taking some of that color, dabbing it around. The reason we're not just getting more paint is because we don't really want it too dark. And so by doing this, you're taking a little bit of where it's dark and just adding a little bit. You'll end up with some spots that are a little darker, a little lighter. For the next part, we're just mixing a little of our dark brown in with our burnt sienna, because we want like a darker brown, but not so dark that it looks black. This will just come in. Just want to come in along that blue line. And if your fan brush has like a bit of a curve to it, just make sure that the curve is pointing down so you don't have those bristles going up into the water area. Now we can switch over to our 1-inch brush. Just want to make sure that it's clean. Make sure you get any of that blue color off there. Once it's all clean and dry, I'm just going to dip into our dark brown color. And this is sort of just for some dirt effect, you know what I mean? It's not really anything in particular. So you can just kind of dab this in. We're just dabbing this darker brown around. We just want to get some nice blendability and have different variants of color on the land where we add in some grass. Now we're just going to grab our fan brush. You can make sure it's clean and dry, or you can use the one that still had a little bit of that lighter green on from doing the trees. Now that you got your fan brush, take some of that lighter green. Just come in here in this area and just start dabbing in a few little areas. Do the same thing over here. We're just gonna dip a little bit into our emerald green, just add a few different little variances of color in here. For our next grassy area, start it over here. And we're using Viridian green, I should say. Just put a bit of Viridian green on the end of the brush. Now we can go back to some of that light green. As you can see, we're not trying to make the whole thing one color. We want different variances of lighter and darker colors, and that's why we dab the color in, so we can just get the odd little amount of different colors. Like up here, there's darker green, right? So just come in there and you can kind of dab into that darker color and pull it down with the lighter green that you have. Now that we got that little area of land in there, we're just going to dip right into our cadmium yellow. And just add a few little highlights coming in off of the area. I'm just going to not get any more, but we'll flip the brush over. I'll use what's left on there for this area. I'm kind of just dabbing in a little bit. Just want to add some highlight, essentially, to the green. We'll do some trees in our next video. We'll add some trees and some bushes and some highlights and details. But before we go, I'm just going to liner brush. We're going to add a couple birds. You want to use a really fine tipped brush. You just kind of come in on an angle. And same thing from the other angle. Gonna have one down here flying off. And we can have another one over here. And with that same brush and that same light, even though we're not completely done the painting, just come over here, do our initials. And like I say, we'll save the trees for another tutorial, just so we're not taking up all your time. that's a painting. Hope you guys had fun doing this one. And we'll see you next time for when we add some details and highlights. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a great day.